Hey everyone, welcome back to Mystifying Miracles. I've got a cool story that took place back in World War I for you today. It's true, involves miracles, and it's kind of a short one, but listen along and we'll dive right in. It was World War I in Mons, France, when British troops had been fighting for days. Days and days of this fighting, and there was no relief. They hadn't had rest. They hadn't had more troops come in to take their place so that they could, take a breather. I mean, it was constant battle. Not only that, these British troops were outnumbered. So a reason being why they probably couldn't stop fighting, they were just barely hanging on to stay alive. And over the days during this particular battle, the British had lost so many guns and supplies, but also they had lost many men, friends, husbands. They had lost too many. Things were looking grim, and defeat, it was almost certain. But there was a Captain Cecil W. Hayward, and he was witness to this, actually to two different battles that I'm going to talk about. This particular one, he said the gunfight was going on both sides heavily until it wasn't. There was a sudden halt on both sides and the firing stopped. The British troops stood there in awe as they looked up, and it is said that they saw 4 to 5 wonderful beings. They were much bigger than men, and they were standing in between them, the British troops, and the Germans. The beings wore white robes, they were bareheaded, and they looked like they were floating instead of standing there in the middle. The beings, angels, if you will, that's what I think they were, but they had their backs to the British and they were facing the Germans with their arms outstretched towards the Germans. And it is said, Captain Hayward says, that the German cavalry's horses, they just got spooked all of a sudden, and they started running every which way. And I'm not sure I assume that the fighting stayed, they were too spooked, ran off, didn't come back, because in the story, that's how it ended. They saw the beings, Germans fled, and that was that. But there was another battle that Hayward speaks about, and it was still World War I, and it was another situation for the British where things just looked terribly hopeless. The British soldiers, they were surrounded on all sides by German troops. Heavy fire was going on both sides, and Captain Hayward says again, it was in an instant where the gunfire just all of a sudden stops. And after it stops, all was silent, eerily silent. Probably couldn't hear a pin drop. And what happened was the troops, they witnessed the sky open up and these beings came down. The light was bright after the sky opened. It was just shining down on them. And it was hard for them to see at first because it was so bright. And again, the beings that came down, they were floating and they were in between the Germans and the British. Well, when the Germans see this happening, they immediately start to retreat, and they're doing it in every direction, trying to get the heck out of there. Many of the German troops actually surrendered, and they were taken prisoner by the British troops. The British troops did ask them, "Why did you surrender?" And the Germans then said, with just this look of awe, the shocked faces, and they said, quote, "But there were hosts and hosts of you. Hosts and hosts of you." How very interesting. Man, I wonder what that would have looked like. Now, it is interesting to note that the British government, they actually officially sponsored National Days of Prayer during this conflict. And many people back then and still today that know about this story, they believe that this commitment to prayer possibly played a role in God sending the angels to intervene on their behalf. I don't know. It's food for thought, right, guys? It's a very interesting story. Another one I had never heard of or come across, but very cool nonetheless. Let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. And I'm sure there are more details to this story, possibly in another book or something. But these are just the details in a short story that I had in a book I saw. So, but man, I'd love to learn more about it. Let me know your thoughts. I thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And other than that, I'll see you guys for the next one.